Today, we're diving into Russ Whitney's Building Wealth. And this isn't your typical finance book. It's a raw, powerful guide from a guy who went from being a high school dropout working in a slaughterhouse to a self-made multimillionaire. This is a playbook straight from the real world. So it all kicked off for him after reading one single book. He stayed up all night, and by the morning, something just clicked. He had this huge realization. Building wealth wasn't some secret magic trick for the rich and famous. Nope. It was a process, a system, and most importantly, it was something he could actually do. That one thought right there was the spark for everything that followed. I mean, just look at this. The gap between these two realities seems absolutely massive, doesn't it? On one side, you have a kid with no high school diploma stuck in a pretty grim job. And on the other, a respected multimillionaire investor. So what on earth happened in between? How do you bridge a gap like that? Well, it started with this number. After taking just one idea from that book he read, Whitney made $11,000. And get this, he did it in only 3 weeks, just working part-time. That was more money than he made in an entire year at the slaughterhouse. This wasn't just about the cash, it was proof. It proved his big realization was right. This wealth-building thing was a skill, and he could learn it. So that first taste of success, that was the catalyst. It lit a fire under him. So let's get into the actual principles he used to turn that first win into a lifelong fortune. And it all starts in the most important place. Before we even talk about strategy or investments or any of that stuff, Whitney is crystal clear that the very first step is all internal. It's about completely rewiring your brain. You have to break free from a lifetime of negative conditioning and start thinking like someone who is already wealthy. He actually coined a term for this process. He calls it mind feed. And it's a great way to think about it. It's like putting your brain on a diet. Instead of consuming all the mental junk food, the negativity from the news, from coworkers, you make a conscious choice to feed it only nourishing, positive, productive information. You start listening to people who've already gotten where you want to go. And this is the domino effect he talks about. It's a powerful chain reaction, and it all starts with just one single thought. You change your thinking, which then starts to change your core beliefs. Those new beliefs change what you expect out of life, which improves your whole attitude. That changes how you act, your behavior, and boom. Before you know it, you've transformed your entire life. But here's the thing. Changing your own mind, that's only half the battle. According to Whitney, the biggest obstacle you're going to face is the constant, overwhelming flood of negativity coming from pretty much everyone around you. He calls this the 95% rule. And the idea is that the vast majority of people are just conditioned to be negative, to have low expectations, to be, stuck. Only a tiny 5% are actively working to build a mindset for success. Your job is to break out of that 95% bubble. And you hear it every single day, don't you? Just listen. Someone says, "Good morning." And what do you hear back? What's good about it? Or that classic, "Can't complain." These aren't just phrases. They are literally affirmations that keep people locked into a negative, limited view of the world. So what was Whitney's antidote to all this? It was so simple, but incredibly powerful. He just forced positivity into his life by changing his vocabulary. It started with this one word. No matter how he was actually feeling, if someone asked how he was, his answer was always great. And he found that if you say it enough, you start to believe it. And pretty soon it starts to become true. Okay, so once the mindset is in place, then it's time to talk method. Let's move from the internal stuff to the external with the first real tangible wealth-building vehicle that Whitney recommends. Conventional wisdom about real estate investing doesn't always work, especially for beginners. The usual plan is you buy a single-family house, you rent it out, but the rent you collect barely even covers the mortgage payment. So Whitney's solution is to stop thinking conventionally. You have to find a higher and better use for that exact same property. And this was his go-to strategy. It was accessible and it was repeatable. He would find a large single-family home, but instead of renting it to one family for one check, he'd convert it to rent out individual rooms to multiple people. It's the same building, same piece of land, but a totally different financial engine. Okay, now let's look at the actual numbers from one of his properties, because this is where it gets really exciting. The total rent coming in each month is over $2,000. Then you subtract the mortgage, you subtract all the other expenses, and what you're left with is a very healthy net profit. That's over $1,300 a month in positive cash flow, every single month, from just one property.
And this isn't some complicated stock market play. It's a clear, simple, repeatable way to generate passive income. The kind of income that eventually replaces your salary and buys you your freedom. So, we've got the mindset, we've got the method, but there's one final piece of the puzzle that stops most people dead in their tracks, and that's fear. So here is Whitney's core lesson on how you conquer it. He calls it paralysis of analysis, and we've all been there, right? He tells this great story about a business partner he had with an MBA who would analyze every single new idea just to find all the reasons it wouldn't work. And while that guy was busy analyzing, Whitney was already at the bank getting the deal financed. The lesson is so clear. Overanalyzing is just fear dressed up in a fancy suit. Whitney's whole philosophy is that you have to be willing to make mistakes. Actually, he says they're essential. He argues a bad decision is way better than no decision, because at least you learn something. Those wrong decisions, that's the tuition you pay to get the experience you need to eventually start making the right ones.
And he drives his point home with the story of Gail Borden, the founder of Borden Dairy. His first ventures were total failures, but it was his persistence, his willingness to try, fail, and just get up and try again that led to his massive success. His own epitaph says it all.
And that brings us to the final, crucial point of the whole book. Every single second you spend hesitating is an opportunity that's gone forever. Knowledge is completely worthless if you don't act on it. So after breaking all this down, there's really only one question left to ask yourself. What action are you going to take now?